A woman stood quietly in the first-class line at LAX, dressed in a simple plaid shirt, worn jeans, and scuffed boots. A travel-worn backpack rested on one shoulder. She looked out of place among the designer luggage and crisp suits, but stood with a quiet dignity, completely at peace. Her name was Ava. Behind her, a sharply dressed man named Victor Harding glanced her way with a mix of curiosity and contempt. Victor was the type to measure people with his eyes and classify them with a single glance. In his mind, people either belonged or they didn't. And Ava, in her unassuming attire and tranquil presence, didn't fit his idea of a first-class passenger. He chuckled and leaned forward. "First class, huh?" he said, just loud enough. "You never know who shows up these days." Ava turned slightly, met his gaze with calm eyes, and said, "The world's full of surprises." Victor smirked, expecting her to feel small, but Ava's composure remained steady, even kind. She turned back and waited quietly as the line moved forward. They boarded the plane, and in a twist of fate, Victor's smug expression disappeared the moment he reached his seat. Ava was seated right next to him. "You've got to be kidding me," he muttered. Ava offered him a small, polite smile. "Looks like we're traveling together." Victor sighed, sinking into his seat with an exaggerated motion, clearly hoping someone else was watching. After a moment, he leaned toward her again. "So, what do you do for a living?" His tone was casual, but the question was barbed, framed as though he were humoring her. "I work in film," she replied, without hesitation. "Oh?" He raised an eyebrow. "Like weddings or YouTube?" "Something like that," she said, smiling faintly. Victor grinned. The in-flight service began. He made a point to order champagne loudly, tossing in a few jokes for the flight attendant. Ava simply asked for water. Victor laughed. "Water? Come on, live a little. First class and you're drinking water?" "I'm fine with this," she said. "Sometimes simplicity is enough." Victor shook his head. That's what people say when they can't afford better. A few passengers looked over, catching the edge in his voice. Ava remained poised, looking out the window. "Maybe the best is different for everyone," she added, almost to herself. Victor leaned back smugly. "I don't know. You just don't seem like someone who belongs here, that's all." Ava turned slowly toward him. "We all end up in the same place when the flight lands." He rolled his eyes. "Okay, Buddha. Maybe save the TED Talk." She smiled softly. "Maybe the value of being here isn't about what you have, but how you treat others." Victor leaned in. "That's not how the real world works." "No," she said, "but it's how a better world might." The atmosphere shifted. Around them, passengers who were quietly observing now began to pay closer attention. Some adjusted their headphones to hear more clearly. Victor wasn't done. "Let me guess. You're one of those people who thinks kindness is more important than winning?" "I think kindness is winning," Ava said simply. Victor snorted. "People who say that usually aren't very successful." Ava didn't respond. Instead, she took a deep breath and stared forward. Her silence only made Victor more uncomfortable. He was trying to provoke her, but he was the only one sweating. "You know what I think?" Victor continued. People who act humble usually have something to hide. Ava turned and looked at him, her gaze soft but firm. Or maybe they've already faced what you're still running from. Victor paused. The passengers nearby shifted again, clearly invested. Then, a flight attendant approached. "Miss, the captain asked me to let you know your connection in Tokyo is confirmed. He also sends his regards." The whispers began. Victor's jaw tightened. "Wait, you're—" She nodded politely. Some nearby passengers glanced at each other. A couple in the row behind whispered her name. Avenue award-winning filmmaker, advocate, speaker, survivor. Her documentaries had changed public perception. Her speeches had empowered thousands. Her story had saved lives. Victor paled. His entire body language shifted. I didn't know," he stammered. "I didn't mean to be rude." Her voice was calm, measured. "Victor, how you treat someone when you think they're nobody says more about you than when you find out they're somebody." Victor looked down, his fingers trembling slightly. You reminded me of someone. My sister. She came out as trans a few years ago. I didn't handle it well. I haven't spoken to her since." Ava's expression softened. "Why not?" she asked. Victor's voice cracked. "I said awful things. Things I didn't mean. And then it was like every day that passed made it harder to fix." Ava nodded. "Time makes silence louder, but it doesn't mean it's too late." Victor looked at her with desperation. "Do you think she'd even want to hear from me?" "I don't know," Ava replied gently. "But you'll never know unless you try." The descent announcement came over the intercom. Victor took out his phone, scrolled to her name. Emma, sister. His thumb hovered. Ava watched silently. Victor whispered, "I was so wrong." "You don't have to stay wrong," she said. "Apologies don't erase the past, but they open the door to a different future." Victor typed slowly. "Emma, it's been too long. I miss you. I'm sorry. I want to try again, if you'll let me." He hit send. The plane landed. Passengers stood and collected their things. Ava stood with calm grace. Victor watched her walk away, pausing to sign an autograph for a young fan who whispered, "Thank you," through tears. She smiled, touched the girl's hand gently, and kept moving. Victor lingered. Something in him had shifted. Not completely, but enough to notice. As he stepped into the terminal, he glanced at his phone again. A new message blinked on the screen. From Emma. He opened it. "I miss you too. I've been waiting for this." Victor stopped walking, eyes filling. In the end, it's not about the seat you're in or the clothes you wear. It's about the choice you make when it counts, when no one's watching, and when everyone is. Because kindness, humility, and courage never go out of style. And sometimes, a stranger in a plaid shirt can teach you more in a 2-hour flight than a lifetime of pretending ever could. If this story moved you, stay with us. We share stories that help us remember the best parts of humanity. Tap the screen now to see more stories that can change your heart and maybe your life.